few months ago, I was fortunate enough to head to Japan for a work trip, and smack bang in the middle of Tokyo, I had a day off. So I set myself a mission. I wanted to visit as many game stores as I could in the little time that I had. So let's just head straight to Shibuya. I had quite a few stores bookmarked on this area, but I honestly didn't have super high hopes to find Magic cards. At like a first glance, a lot of it was like Pokemon and other trading card games. However, I knew I would start off strong at my first stop, Haruya. Once inside, I headed straight to the bulk bins, and I was honestly just so surprised to see such a cool selection of cards for so cheap. It wasn't a large collection, but it was enough to get going. I popped onto the computer and searched for some of the cards I wanted to try and find until I got way too overwhelmed by the amount of kanji, and I kind of just left. I ended up grabbing a Crick, a Go for the Throat for my mates at after hours, and a selection of some pretty nice basic lands to fill my collection, but nothing too crazy. Total cost was about $8. After that, I headed to Card Kingdom. No, not the one you're thinking of. Full Comp, Butteroko Satellite, Magipoki, and Metro Shibuya, all of which didn't have any Magic cards, but I sort of expected that. After that, I had plans for the rest of the day, so I didn't really get a chance to explore much of Shibuya.
No magic.
Later that evening, I decided to head back to Haruya and really took my time looking through the collection. I reckon I spent probably like 2 hours there until they closed. I ended up finding a Tombstone Stairwell, some Dark Rituals, more retro lands, a Marinor for 300 yen, which is like $2, a Bubbling Mock, the Rack, and finally a Strixhaven Faithless Looting, which I actually love. Total cost was $26.77. I also had the chance to do one of those gacha thingos where you essentially get to choose one of the 4 options and get like a repack. Inside you also get a mystery card with a letter on it, and depending on what grade you get to pick a card from the shelf that like corresponds to your grade. Before you comment, yes, I know the odds for this stuff is pretty horrible, but I enjoyed it. I ended up spending 2,000 yen, which is about 14 USD, on a super rare cabinet, and walked away with a spectacular pile up in this cool glitter thing. I don't know what you call this glitter foil, but it looks cool. Not bad for a 55 US card. Overall, day one was super chill in Shibuya, and I was only really getting started. If you do want to see what I used the Tombstone Stairwell for, as well as some of the other cards that I got, you should definitely check out my other video in Japan. Now let's go to day 2. Chilling on the 8th floor, surrounded by maid cafes, was another Haruya. This store was honestly much smaller than I was expecting, and maybe even smaller than the one in Shibuya, but it had still plenty to look at. I checked out the singles and the display cabinets before jumping on a PC to look up a Mystic Remora from my Muldrotha deck. I also picked up some pretty cool looking cards in the singles tray, including Kibiko, Laris, Explore, and Shugengar, as well as Exquisite Blood, Aria, and Braids. All up, I spent $31.20 here. And on my way out, I even saw 2 different English commander pods, which I thought was pretty cool seeing that we're in the middle of Japan. After Haruya, I started to make my way towards another store called Big Magic when I got lost and I stumbled upon another store in a laneway. I honestly forgot what it was called, but they did have a very small display cabinet of Magic cards, and I ended up picking up a Gitrog monster for like $4. That's a pretty good deal. I also popped into what I thought was another card store, but it wasn't. Stop 3 was Big Magic, and this one was probably my favorite of the trip. They also had just an insane collection of cool cards, including a bunch of Black Lotuses and Jewel Lands. To start here, I grabbed the Mark Riddick Secret Lair Nekasar and Wheel of Fortune, as well as the Junji Ito Doomsday, totaling for about 50 USD. After that, I ended up searching the signals where I found a metric fuck ton of retro foils for like 80 yen each, which is like half the price of what I could get them for here in Australia. I'm an absolute sucker for retro lands, and I ended up grabbing like 81 of these for about $41. And I was actually I was so gassed. Like, I cannot explain to you how gassed I was to find basic lands. If I was to buy all these from Card Kingdom, it easily would have been about $100. After Big Magic, I walked down the main strip of Akihabara to find Amenity Dreams, and oh wait, this is the wrong floor. Okay, well, when I found Amenity Dreams, unfortunately there was nothing that really caught my eye here, so I didn't stay for too long. The vibe was very different to the other stores I went to, and they only took cash, and I just spent all my cash on basic lands. After lunch, I headed back to Big Magic, and I knew I would regret if I didn't find more retro lands, so naturally I went straight back to the bulk piles and literally digged up every last one I could find. On my way out, I also grabbed some more stuff for EDH decks, including some Lightning Greaves, an Azusa Lost But Seeking, Mystical Archive Dark Ritual, which I think is insane, and a Spore Frog. All up, including the lands, this purchase was another $42.80. The time I spent in Akihabara was honestly just like unforgettable. Like I had such a blast looking through cards in Japan, and it's so different from what we get back at home. Most of the stores in Tokyo had such an amazing collection of cards, and it was just a pleasure to have the opportunity to experience it firsthand. All up, I ended up spending $203.99 on singles, and if I was to order all these from Card Kingdom, I would have ended up paying this much. And that doesn't even include shipping. Japan was seriously an unreal experience for card collectors, and I would highly recommend buying your next singles while you're over there. Overall, if you did enjoy this video, please let me know what you think and definitely subscribe. If you do want to check out my other video when I was in Japan where I bought the last card for my Amalia deck, definitely watch that as well. And I'll see you later. Peace.